I mean, like, if you had told me going into this game that we were going to hold Saquon Barkley to 2.5 yards a carry and Hurts was only going to have three total touchdowns, I would have told you we were going to blow him out. But that was not the case. So,
Yeah. It seems that we blew ourselves out to start the game. And then, I mean, credit where credit's due. Obviously, the Eagles played
yeah,
an
I mean, they're a
amazing game.
phenomenal team.
We got
So,
outcoached, outplayed, out hustled, out hearted, out beat in the trenches,
everything you could
beat in the
add at the
secondary.
end of out, I think applies to what happened in that game. So,
And yeah, I mean, there is no more three-peat, Garrett. Guess we'll have to win the next three in a row. This
got
is
to win the next
Talkin
three in a row.
Chop.
What can we say?
Yeah, I want to just talk about that for a second.
This guy is a
It
beast.
seems like he just rubs butter on himself.
Because he had 2 touchdowns, baby. Welcome back, watchers and listeners, to the show. I know we took a little break. Usually we record on Monday or Tuesday, but I had to go into work and record for a men's basketball game on Tuesday. And honestly, Monday we were just not ready to record
I
yet.
I feel like we just needed like that extra day to reconcile, figure out our thoughts on the game, what we really wanted to say, because I feel like everyone talks about overreaction Monday being a thing, and I think my viewpoint has changed significantly since post game and going into work on Monday, figuring out what we need to do to fix whatever it was that was on the field on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, took a little day break. I don't think it's going to matter too much, but I think my thoughts have changed. I'm not sure how you feel as well.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is now making the three-peat dreams gone. The Super Bowl, I was definitely the most nervous going into since the Tom Brady Buccaneers Super Bowl. And honestly, I guess it ended up being the same like outcome kind of. I wasn't expecting like that kind of collapse from our offensive line. In fact, I was feeling pretty good about the unit as a whole. I mean, Garrett, you highlighted it in our pregame matchup that Caliendo versus Jalen Carter was going to be a battle to watch. And the Eagles not only exploited that one, they exploited Joe Tooney at left tackle. They exploited Jawan Taylor at right tackle. They exploited Trey Smith at guard. The only player on that line who played a good game was Creed Humphrey. And I mean, part of that has to do with my first gripe of this game, and I'll just get right into it. Andy Reid didn't run the ball, and I mean, oh, you could say a lot of casual NFL fans will be like, "Oh, when you are getting your O line beat so bad, I mean, it's well, you can't run the ball either." And it's like, no, it's a completely different like line set. The defensive linemen are literally pinning their ears back and going, "Oh, we can just rush the passer every time. We don't even have to protect the run." If you look at previous Super Bowls, like we exploited that aspect of Nick Bosa's game, where Nick Bosa would always pin his ears back and he would over pursue, and then all of a sudden the running back would zoom by him. We ran the ball 7 times with our running backs today, Garrett.
Total.
Seven, seven,
Yep.
7 total rushes in the game. Seven, 3 for Kareem Hunt, 3 for Pacheco, and 1 for P Ryan. And Kareem Hunt was only on the field for 11 total snaps in this entire game. An entire game. What? Why is he phased
Yeah,
out of the game plan? He was so much our clock controller. We
and
didn't
it's
control the
it's
clock at all.
unfortunate that the game went that way, and especially is early in the first quarter, right? Like, yeah, maybe we don't get those couple successful ones on the first drive, and we don't go down and we have to punt it away. But I just feel like when we're most successful running the ball, we're in these, elaborate sets. We're in our three tight end sets. We're in our, inverted wishbone sets that we can really, control the offensive line, make a lot of dudes miss, make mistakes. And what I was seeing was we were just running out of a lot of our base sets. We weren't showing them anything different. And it made the D line and linebackers' jobs a lot easier to just control the run, stuff what we were trying to do, and get in the backfield really early. And to the D line's credit, I mean, Philadelphia did a phenomenal job. Their game plan was, from what I could tell, just instead of going around him, going straight through him. They saw Caliendo on film getting pushed back by the likes of the Texans and the Bills, and they said, "Hey, we got two giant D tackles in the middle who can do just that and even better." And they decided to run directly through his chest. Don't need to go around him. Just push him straight back into Mahomes, get some pressure. And guys on the outside did the exact same, like Josh Sweat did to Joe Tooney, and we had absolutely no answer for it. I mean, Joe Tooney, he did a phenomenal job this year moving out to tackle, but in situations like that where you need significant amounts of experience to, control pass rushers like that, he just didn't have enough.
Something too that I wanted to highlight. I'm seeing a lot of comments about the game plan, and I just think we came in with the absolute wrong game plan. I mean, Garett said in his analysis before the Super Bowl what he wanted to do, and it was we win the coin toss. Garett wants the ball, and he wants to take a long 7-10 minute drive, running the ball, just really eating away at the clock, and then score at the end of the drive, and then make the Eagles play from behind. Instead, I mean, yeah, we got a stop right off the bat. It was a little questionable stop. I do think that flag was bad, but then it was reprimanded by like 10 bad flags on us, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, we played panicked football immediately. The whole game, it looked like we were playing from behind. We got out of our own head, and all the run packages that we did finally run were too cute. There was like 3 different motions in front of them. It was like every motion, every trickery, everything was too cute. Eagles weren't biting on anything. They just played really tight at the line with their corners and DBs. They played really tight on Kelsey. Zach Bond was pressed up on him all the time. And it worked.
Yeah.
They knew they had one of the,
and I saw this comment too, right? Like, I, in wholeheartedness, believe that our defensive game plan was extremely solid. I am not blaming this game on defense at all. I feel like the way we were playing defense against them, if our offense was able to keep up to par and score some points, it would have been masterclass from Steve Spagnuolo. But
yeah, because it was 10-0. It was 10-0 with 7 minutes left in the second half when we had the ball.
Yeah,
that is not the defense's fault at all.
Well, we talked about it before. I made my biggest X factor for defense controlling Saquon Barkley. Right, I said it in the intro. If you had told me we were holding Saquon Barkley to less than 2.5 yards per carry, no touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts to only throw for 220 and 2 touchdowns, I'd say we would blow him out. But offense just sold the bag exclusively. And it all goes down to, like you said before, our offensive game plan going to this game. It just kind of looked like we were going to go in there and expect them to lie down and die. And the Eagles came out with this explosiveness and this fire, and that Eagles defensive line didn't have to blitz a single time. They controlled up front the entire game, and I think this was the first game Mahomes was actually scared for his life, his whole career. It was the first time
the Bucs game.
Well, that one too, but it was the first time in a long time where I've looked at Mahomes and you could visibly tell he was not going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, and you go back to as well. I mean, with the Eagles secondary, this unit is so improved from last year's unit or 2 years ago's unit. This unit was the best at stopping passes behind the line of scrimmage and quick passes. And what has been our identity all, honestly, the last 2-3 years now has just been dink and dunk offense, take what the defense gives you. Well, newsflash, Andy Reid and company and Matt Nagy, the defense wasn't giving us underneath. What they were giving us was deep downfield. Wide open every time. There was so much all 22 tape that we watched, Garett, where you have Tyreek Hill, oh my gosh, Xavier Worthy wide open downfield. And finally, when it got to a point where it was such a bad blowout that the playbook got simple and Andy Reid just said, throw the ball deep and hope for the best, all of a sudden you had everything working again. And I just wish that we had taken some deep shots.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of that is the offensive line not holding up. Don't get me wrong. But the offensive line can't hold up when you don't establish a run game.
Yeah, no, and to that point, right, it's like especially early on, before the Eagles started putting in their twos, right, we were having almost no time to throw. Even on the times we did, it was just the wrong scheme, wrong time kind of play. And all of this kind of boils down to the last 5 years, Veach has completely neglected this portion of the offense, and that's tackle, right? And we're going to talk about this later with off-season stuff, but there's a reason people say left tackle is the second most important position in football, because it's the truth, right? We can have a phenomenal interior. We had the best interior O-line in football. Didn't matter, right? We have Chris Jones. We have George Karlaftis. We have Mike Dana on the other side. We have, this phenomenal D tackle that can rush and get sacks. Didn't matter. right? If going out of this game, our immediate thought as an organization is not protecting Mahomes, then I want every single person in that building fired today,
Okay.
starting with Matt Nagy.
I also do see the takes that Brett Veach is trying his best to get a tackle. Like he drafted Kingsley high, he drafted Wanye in the third.
But even then, right? It's like, yeah,
it's always the wrong guy.
He drafted him high, right? Tackles are a dime a dozen in the later rounds. You are only going to get value in those early first round picks. And I understand it's hard to trade up. It's hard to get these picks when, teams aren't willing to trade with you because you're only going to get better. But at this point, I'm totally fine selling the house for a tackle. I really don't care. We need someone that can consistently protect Mahomes' outside, keep him readily available, readily safe. That way he can just play the exact kind of football that he knows. And I just feel like we've neutered the way Mahomes plays, right?
I mean, yeah.
I saw a really great comparison, right? We had Alex Smith. We weren't winning football games. We weren't going deep in the playoffs. Then we draft a quarterback with an explosive arm, likes to take risks, plays football his own way. And then we turned that quarterback into Alex Smith.
Damn. I mean, Garrett, you're spot on. And honestly, a lot of the recent Chiefs hate and this is something that Brandon Perna of That's Good Sports echoed, and I loved what he said. The Chiefs hate has really come from, they hate the way that we play football now. It's a boring style of football. It's take what the defense gives you, check down Charlie over here. And that's not how it used to be. It used to be, we will destroy you offensively. We will show you that we have a mighty offense and a mighty scheme. And that arm by Mahomes, those deep passes to Tyreek Hill, but it wasn't just Tyreek Hill. It was Mecole Hardman looked better back then. You had Demarcus Robinson looking like a deep threat back then. It looked like everybody on offense could go deep with Mahomes. And now that just isn't the case anymore. But Brandon Perna's take was, we're just not fun to watch anymore. And honestly, this game, the Eagles gave us everything deep and we just didn't take those shots. Yeah. And you're right. You have Mahomes turning into Alex Smith just because of the coaching. And,
And I understand that there are a lot of people out there that are saying, Reed is the control of the offense. So a guy like Nagy, it doesn't matter. Right. And I would completely understand that sentiment if you look at the exact numbers the moment Matt Nagy joined our staff. Mahomes' interceptions went up, his touchdowns went down, and his yardage went down instantly, right? And it has not gone up since. The way he has played football has been completely neutered by Matt Nagy. And honestly, Andy Reid should be on thin ice too, because that game plan was atrocious. Obviously, the offensive line play didn't help whatever they were planning to do, but you could just tell they were just trying to go with whatever we've been doing all year, which against that defense was not a great scheme.
No, it really wasn't. Like I'm just at a loss at the fact that it was just it just felt like nobody wanted to make an adjustment. I'm seeing all these comments come in about why didn't Andy Reid do his second half adjustments or even his mid-game adjustments that he's so famous for. I did see as well, Kingsley was warming up on the sideline, ready to go in at guard when the score was 17-0. Why was Wanye Morris a healthy scratch? Because I would have liked to see him go in for right tackle to maybe give Jawan, hey, buddy, you're not playing well in the Super Bowl. Wanye Morris, let's see what you can do. Like, just why didn't we do any of those adjustments? Like, I understand like trying to roll out with those guys, but putting Joe Tooney maybe inside again and would have helped a little bit. At least we could have done it for run sets. We could have a different O-line unit for our running.
It's just at that point in the game, I don't like to live in worlds of ifs and would-haves and could-haves. It's just at that point in the game, the guys that we had to put on the field, I just don't think we had, especially right after that Mahomes pick six, I guarantee you every single person's heart on that field dropped instantly. And this question, I don't know why Spags still wanted to only stay on Saquon. Well, that's because early on in the game, phenomenal game plan. Stay on Saquon, force Jalen Hurts to win the football game. Then our offense stutters. 3 and out, pick, fumble. 3 and out, pick, fumble, right? if our offense stays consistently on par with the Eagles during that scheme, I think it goes out a lot differently. And later on in the game, what are you trying to do if you're the Eagles? You're trying to run the football. So staying on Saquon was still the right answer, but we saw that one safety bites a little too hard on a run, and they shoot the dagger, right? But
Yeah, the pass to Devonta Smith.
yeah, I do not blame defense in the slightest for this game. Their game plan was solid. They played really well. They were on the field for before the Eagles decided to just let us have the ball for fun. I think we had the ball for 8 minutes on offense. So our defense was on the field forever.
The time of possession battle was like not even close. And I mean, I think it ended up being a 10-minute difference, even with the amount of extra time we got with the ball at the end of the game. Yeah. There was, wow, I'm looking at this stat, right? There was never a win probability in our favor at one point in the game, except when we got that interception, the Brian Cook interception. It shot up. And honestly, that would have been... That would have been the momentum change, and
it just sucks, man. Because I think Spags had a really phenomenal game plan, and our offense just didn't do anything. It didn't. Nothing we did worked, and nothing we adjusted worked. Our offensive line turned into paper mache at the exact worst timing, and no matter what the defense had done, offense wouldn't have been there to play. So. Sure, you could say, we could have gotten a couple more turnovers, yada, yada, yada. What's one more turnover going to do in a game like that, right? I mean, well, what were our offense possessions, right? Punt, 3 and out, interception, another interception, fumble, 3 and out.
Well, one of those interceptions was a pick six.
Right. So, can't win football games like that.
Here's the first quarter drives, like, stat-wise, how 12 yards on the first drive and a minute-long drive. That's not going to work, especially when we just talked about how we needed to bleed clock and set the tone. And the Eagles respond and score a touchdown. Our next drive is also a minute long, 3 plays, 7 yards. Our next drive, another minute long, 3 plays, 7 yards. Then it's the -6 yards and an interception, pick 6. Then it's -6 yards and a punt. Then it's 0 yards in a pick on the first play, and then it's a -1 yard drive to end the game, or in the first quarter. Just in the first quarter, we had the ball 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the first.
7 times in the first quarter, no points, and people will still blame the defense.
That's crazy. 7 times.
And if we really break down these numbers, right? Defense let up 21 points and 4 field goals, or 3 touchdowns, 4 field goals. And people are going to blame the defense for a game like this, right? And even when things were working for the offense, like there were times where we could have got a spark to lift us out of whatever rut we dug ourselves in, right? Kelsey drops that wide open pass in the middle. DeAndre Hopkins just catches the most wide open bomb play ever. Like would have been down on the 20-yard line going in, drop, right? It's just every single person on the field made a crucial mistake when it mattered most, and we're not used to that as a Chiefs team, right? We going into this game, our biggest, ability was not turning the ball over, and keeping ourselves on the field, and just completely shifted that motion towards the Eagles on Sunday.
Well, and going back to the game plan stuff too, I want to take a look at the snap counts, because these genuinely perplexed me. Especially keep in mind that these snap counts are definitely going to be adjusted because of maybe it didn't seem like we changed much of our game plan anyway. So even when we were getting blown out, the numbers wouldn't be high. Why was Travis Kelce on the field for 95% of the game? 95% of the game, Garrett, in a blowout. He was still out there every snap. He has not played anywhere close to this number all season. It had been some games where Noah Gray had played more than Travis Kelce. Noah Gray, you see all the way down there at 32. He only had 18 registered snaps in this entire game. Kareem Hunt was on the field 11 times in this game. Pitiful. DeAndre Hopkins on the field 21 times this entire game, and that was all towards the end of the game. That was when D-Hop had all of his catches and his touchdown. It was close to garbage time, basically, and those were most of his snaps. So he was not a factor in the game plan. Honestly, what are we doing? Like,
Uh, and it's like we talked about earlier, right? It's like I liked a lot of our run schemes earlier in the season and later in the season when we developed, really going into our heavy three tight end sets and our, inverted wishbone that we talked about a couple weeks ago. And we saw none of that, right? We weren't being special in the way we ran the football. We were, lining up with our 5 offensive linemen, Kelsey out there a little bit, and just to basically told Hunt and Pacheco when they had their 3 carries each to say, yeah, hey, good luck getting some yards, dude. And it obviously did not work, especially against a heavy, physical defensive front like the Eagles have. And if you can tell me why we had Hopkins in more than Noah Gray, I'm not sure why. I just feel like the things he brings to the offense was more beneficial than even guys like Juju. Just being on the field as a run presence to bring, safeties down even a little would have helped, and just to help Chip on the way out, which that was another big problem throughout the game. The way we've schemed a lot of our protections lately has been having guys chip the, ends and edges on the way out, right? And there's clips out there that I'm sure everyone in here has seen, right? Kelsey blocking this game
was horrible.
Was terrible.
He didn't
terrible. And that pretty much goes for every single person that had a chip block throughout the game. It was, pardon the language, half-assed, and it was hard to watch because, as a guy that likes to watch good blocking, it was really sad. There was a couple times where we would, set up tight end screens, and Kelsey's supposed to chip a guy, and he just basically brushed him off. Just ran past
that one where Josh Sweat got instantly to the quarterback that was Kelsey's responsibility to chip him, and I think Kelsey being rewarded with 95% of the snaps after the game he was having was just, quite frankly, just bad coaching. And to your point with Noah Gray not being on the field, remember that Saints game, like week 4, when we deployed 4 tight end sets with Jody Fortson and
it was phenomenal. We had a really good game plan for that game, and
yeah, where was that creativity? Where was we didn't even have 2 tight end sets half the time. We didn't even attempt to look like we were running the ball. It looked like we just came out there and tried to do air raid offense against a team that is one of the best at stopping it. Not even an air raid offense, because we are we're tricking motion, and
we are showing that we're going to throw it deep, but we will never throw it deep. That's kind of like we are showing, like, we'll go out 5 wide expecting these bit, and then we'll just dump it off 3 yards, right?
Yeah, I mean, and they are the Eagles defense is statistically the best this season at covering that kind of stuff. And I just don't know how we didn't see that. Like, we run the ball by throwing screens recently, which is weird. This whole playoff run, we've been running the ball by throwing screens. We haven't really run the ball much in this playoff run at all. And the Eagles were like, cool, you're not going to get a single screen off against us. You're not going to get, we don't care. We trust our corners to beat your wide receivers blocking one-on-one. So we're not going to, we're not going to have our linebackers adjust. We're not going to have our D-line kind of play to the edges to get the screen. We're going to tell the D-line, go for the quarterback and go for the quarterback alone. And that, honestly, is all they were doing. They just told the D-line, go for the quarterback.
And I found that interesting, right? It's like, against Buffalo, right, we came out on firing on all cylinders, right, with like a lot of like these like fake faux RPOs that were actually RPOs, jet motion sweeps that were, meant for distraction. I just saw nothing creative or interesting in our game plan, and it just felt like we went out there, threw out the playbook, and just said, hey guys, go play football. And it's not often that you talk about coaches being lost. A lot of the time it's like, a lot of those players, they just looked lost out there. That was true for the players too. But it just felt like this was one of the times where Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and company were lost. And I don't see how a game like this, I've talked with you about this before, if a game like that does not get a guy like Matt Nagy fired, nothing will.
Yeah, unfortunately, this offseason will either be the end or beginning of Matt Nagy. I really hope he doesn't take over for Andy Reid after Andy Reid retires. And
I'd rather Spags take over.
Well, I think that's just the genius move. You have Spags take over, and you get an OC that's creative and can push. We have to evolve. We have to evolve as an offense. Like,
Give me Sark from Texas as our
I
offensive
want
coordinator.
Sark so bad.
Give me
He's never
Sark.
gonna leave. He's never. Gonna leave
I
now.
know he's not, but like a guy like
But
that,
a Sark
with that
disciple,
kind of
a Sark
that
disciple.
kind of scheme, that kind of creativity, that kind of drive when you have an offense is what a guy like Mahomes needs, right?
What do you
And
think of this comment on the screen?
worst game all year,
Offensively.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, it's probably the worst I've ever seen an offensive line perform, maybe ever.
Yeah, worse than the literal practice squad O-line versus the Bucks. Like, that we rolled out there. Then again, our defense.
Because at least Mahomes was able to get out passes against that Bucks, defense, right?
Yeah,
like
that was
Mahomes was barely even able to get out the ball on Sunday.
But Garrett, dare I say that maybe it was a very similar offensive line performance, maybe identical, but the person Mahomes was back then was able to make plays happen, whereas the person Mahomes is now is, like you said, an Alex Smith type. And until it really got to the end, other than like, I don't know how else to describe it other than F it mentality, until it got to the F it mentality and Mahomes was allowed to scramble and just do random crap, that's when we started scoring. And no, it wasn't because the Eagles were letting us score. The last drive, yes, but the first 2 touchdowns, no. And Worthy earned that touchdown, that first touchdown. And that was a Mahomes spin out of a sack, running down the sideline, throws it. Worthy tracked the ball amazing. Got to give him credit there. And that just should have been how we played more. Like,
yeah, and there were a couple
football.
times I saw, like, I understand this kind of protection, it really just eliminates one half of the field. But if you have no half of the field to begin with whatever you're normally running, right, might as well give something a chance. There were a couple times I saw when we had a lot of rollout protections that Mahomes was getting a lot more time and he felt more comfortable back there, and we had some good plays. But we just ran that like once or twice, and it worked, and then we never went back to it. You'll see like a lot of coaches are like, well, running a lot of rollout protection, it takes away one half of the field, which is what you'll hear a lot. And I'd rather take half the field than not getting any points. So, agreed. I just saw this comment roll through. Worthy will be a wide receiver for us in the future, especially when, obviously, Rashee Rice, we'll see how he turns out with his suspension surely coming next year.
I'm seeing the Tyreek Hill type role for Worthy finally. Like, the deep ball was there. Like, we all season we talked about Mahomes just missing him on wide open deep throws, and like finally they were just connecting in stride. Like, it was tightrope, beautiful football. I was like, man, I miss that. I miss that. Like, I hope we take a look at ourselves. We had to change to this check down offense because of the fact that teams played us with respect for the deep ball, but now teams don't respect our deep ball at all. So we got to just open it back up again.
But like, even then, like when I'm watching other teams play football, right? Like a phrase that goes around, like 50-50 balls, right? Like giving your wide receivers a chance at the ball downfield. We never do that. Ever.
No.
There will never be a time where if we have a wide receiver one-on-one with a corner and he's like semi-covered, that ball is never getting thrown. Ever. He needs to be wide open or he's not getting the ball. Which is a shame because we have a lot of really talented receivers that can go up and get footballs, but they're not getting the chance to. We've seen Worthy come down with some insane catches, but like a lot of, especially earlier in the season when he was having like troubles getting his feet in bounds, right? Why are we throwing him so close to the sideline if he's wide open like that? Lead him upfield a little bit and he scores, right? But I just feel like, going back to that point, Mahomes has been neutered by Matt Nagy and Reed, and they've turned him from this gunslinger, deep ball thrower, go do it himself kind of player to a check down merchant.
Yeah, he's playing within the system, and he's not being himself anymore. And again, we still need tackles because we're going to really limit his career if we continue this up. Scrap said too, like, hey, we had Worthy on Zach Bond one-on-one down the field. Like, Worthy was open downfield. We just weren't taking those
significantly. There's a lot of 22 film, if you go look back and look at the game, where Worthy was beating a lot of dudes deep, and the two problems were Mahomes wasn't looking his way, or there was no time to throw the ball. And that's really all it boils down to. Now, if we eventually secure a tackle that we can, stand by and be with for a long time, that'll change. We'll be able to get more reads, look a lot more locations, but until that happens, and we're going to talk about that pretty soon in the offseason stuff, nothing will change.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put one of those up on the screen. Anonymous Mango that looks like Patrick Mahomes, judging by the profile picture. OSU tackle Josh Simmons followed Mahomes and the Chiefs on Instagram after the Super Bowl. I mean, Worthy did the same thing, and I mean, could we trade up for a tackle like Josh Simmons, who just came off a national championship?
Oh, we need to sell the boat to trade up to top 15.
I want Kelvin Banks.
Do we just want to go straight into offseason right now? I think we do.
I think we do. I do think we don't have much more to say about the Super Bowl. It's kind of been a dead horse to beat. I mean, for recap for all the people coming in, first off, check out the YouTube. It's much better because I can put your comment on the screen and I can actually read them versus me having to check the Instagram every now and again. But also, just a recap, bad offensive game plan, game play calling out the gate was just bad. Defense did their job. They did a perfect job. Honestly, I don't have any critiques for the defense other than like a couple big plays down the field, passing wise, getting let up in some Jalen Hurts runs. But honestly, that's more indicative of being tired because they're out there literally all the time. We said in the first half, the Chiefs had 7 times that they touched the ball and they did not move more than 50 yards. So that's not the defense's fault. And, you know, yeah, I mean, that basically sums it up. O-line was terrible.
That's pretty much it. I mean, Eagles are a phenomenal team, and they deserve to win the game. They came out guns blazing and ready to show. They outcoached us. They outplayed us, and they outmuscled us, and that's pretty much all they needed to do to win the game. And they're gonna have a lot of fun in Philadelphia after the city rebuilds itself from the destruction of the fans just tearing their city apart every time. But yeah, other than that, it's time for the offseason. We can
first question
mope and whine, but
first question: can we trade Jawan Taylor?
Oh my God!
Instagram?
If it's possible, please do it. But it's not.
Steel.
No one is going to want that contract. No one is going to want us, to get away from it easily. And unfortunately, I think he's here to stay.
Yeah. There's gonna be some magic. I'm sure Veach is gonna be able to work. But I really don't see his role in the offensive line in the future. We might do a thing, and I'm actually 1000% totally okay with this, trading Jawan Taylor away for a 7th round pick just to dump the salary. I wouldn't even be mad.
I wouldn't even be mad.
I would be happy. I mean, unfortunately, what did happen, for everyone asking the questions about why his contract is so hard to navigate, we restructured it to fit some more paychecks for guys this year. We restructured it, which pushed the money to next year, which is now this year. And it has made it a more, you can't dump that money. It's like you restructure it by giving him more guaranteed money. So it's like basically that move said, we believe in keeping Jawan Taylor. And yeah, I also miss Andrew Wiley. I think Andrew Wiley might be a better right tackle.
He got a lot of hate when he was here, but he was solid.
Unfortunately, Statman Jackson is not with us, but I mean, I want to know, how did Andrew Wiley do against the Eagles? We have that availability to look up. He was on the Commanders in their heavy run. So Garrett, do you want to look that up while I'm queuing up the next thing, like with our PFF subscription?
When we're talking about trading up or trading for premier tackles, right? It's like there are many different things and many different aspects that go into that, and one of those being we are going to have to pay a premium because of who we are, right? A lot of people say, oh, well, if each is making it so much harder to play because we can't get a tackle, right? If I am the Chiefs general manager, the previous 2-time defending Super Bowl champion, been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, and I call a team saying, hey, we really need an offensive tackle to help the best quarterback in the league play football better. What is the other GM going to say to him? He's going to say, oh, well, what can you give me and then more because you are the Chiefs, right? That is the biggest issue going into this. And at this point, sell the boat. There needs to be a massive trade, whether that be a lot of picks or I've talked about it before and I might say it now. Trade Chris Jones.
Damn.
You can get away with having a run stuffer that doesn't get sacks in the middle to stop the run, but you cannot get away without having a tackle. And we've seen it. Chris Jones just dies in the playoffs every single time. He's been a great player for us forever, but we need a tackle. We do not need Chris Jones.
Well, let's look at, oh man, dude, Andrew Wiley held his own in the. He had a 77 pass blocking grade against the Eagles. He did not allow a sack, and he only allowed 2 hurries and 2 pressures in the Eagles game, and they also lost. So that's who we said goodbye to, and we replaced him with Jawan Taylor. We downgraded for a $20 million upcharge. Damn. That's like getting rid of an X and getting paying some money on some crazy model, and then it's just way worse. But holy cow, that is horrible. That's not great. Because Jawan Taylor, oh Garrett, do you have the PFF grades for our O line in that game? Because Jawan Taylor had what, like a 50?
Jawan Taylor I think had like a 64. I know Tooney had like a 60 something. Humphrey had a 79. And then Caliendo had a 30. So it's all
Garrett.
they don't
arbitrary. Like it. They don't like.
I mean, look, you guys can't like you guys don't have to like the take, but what did Chris Jones do in that Super Bowl that would have made a difference if he wasn't there?
Well, his cap hit is also one of those things where we're locked into his contract for forever. Like, we've committed to him. I'm going
to ask you this right now.
Our D line is horrible without him, though.
Would you rather have Chris Jones or a premier left tackle that will protect Mahomes? Would you rather have more time to throw the football or have Chris Jones?
I mean, if it shouldn't be that hard to get our left.
It shouldn't be that hard to get a left tackle, but like it is. It's the second most important position in football. No one trades away good tackles. You got to either find it in the draft, higher up in the draft, or you got to get really lucky in later round picks.
Garrett, you're all of the comments.
They can hate all they want. He's getting up there in age. His contract's too big, and if trading Chris Jones is the difference between getting a premier tackle to protect Mahomes and not, I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
I love Chris Jones. I love him so much. He has been the captain and heart of this defense forever. We will not win football games without a good tackle. We won't. And we can win games without Chris Jones. Like, obviously, if there is any way to get a tackle and we can keep Chris Jones, do it. But if he has to be involved, I'm okay.
Fair enough. Do you think Kingsley can improve enough to be a starter?
He has the intangibles to play tackle in the league. I've looked at his film. It's just working on his outside hand and working on hand placement and getting his feet set and not getting beat around the edge has been a huge struggle for him. And the people or the competition that he played with at BYU wasn't great. And it kind of showed in a couple of his starts when going up against NFL talent. I think he can. Is he going to be, this, premier, heart-stopping left tackle? No. But he can be serviceable, I think. But I just think we need something more.
Yeah. Well, let's go into kind of the guys who are on the team. I've heard.
I'll trade Isaiah before Chris Jones. Yeah, I would too, but like no one's going to give us anything for Isaiah Pacheco. Like, he's not worth anything.
That's kind of where I want to lean into, because Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Garrett, I think we drafted a running back. This is one of the best running back classes in probably 10 years.
What are the odds we could get a kid like Devin Neal?
Well, dude, 4th round. You can get Devin Neal in the 4th round, and he is
because he
an
is
instant starter.
Phenomenal.
Trevion,
he was one of the few,
Trevion Henderson.
He was one of the few running backs I saw in person. I was at the KU Colorado game in Arrowhead, and he ran all over that Colorado defense, and he is a fun player to watch.
I mean, you look at this class, and you have guys that are like Dylan Sampson, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Skibido might go late. We could get Scatabo. How do you Scatabo?
Scatabo or whatever it is.
Wrong. He says I say it wrong, but I want him so bad. He might be there in the 3rd round for us. And I know we have so many holes. I mean, I'm even looking at this. This class is so good, Gary. You got
I,
Taj
I, I like
Wrexley,
Scatterbo, and I just think like if it's
Ollie
possible to get
Gordon.
Devin Neal, I mean keep him in state. I mean he's a phenomenal player. Like KU running back goes to Kansas City.
Ollie Gordon late. I mean, Donovan Edwards, who's literally on the cover of the game. I know he had a bad year, but this is just a class where I think we're gonna draft a running back for sure. We need to get more picks in this class too.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And to this point, I saw in the comments, right? It's like I think a lot of people are really hating
Ooh,
on Pacheco right now
I
because
think it's gonna be another year, Garrett, and I see that too.
here's the thing.
It's the
Like
Tony Pollard injury.
yeah, people can talk about like, oh, when he came back, he wasn't as explosive. Well, let's talk about this as a football perspective, right? A lot of people are thinking like, oh, he's out of his injury, he's completely 100% ready to go, right? NFL athletes work out in a weight room, they work out heavily every single day of their lives, right? So when you have a running back whose main job is to run through individuals using his legs and his strength in his legs to overpower an individual, and his injury is in his legs, he missed at that point 10 weeks of weight room workouts, right? He lost a lot of strength in his legs. It's going to take a lot more than a couple weeks and then into the Super Bowl to get back to where he was strength wise, especially, in his lifts, right? Give him a full offseason. Pacheco, if, heaven forbid he gets injured again, he'll be right back to where he was at the start of the season.
Yes, but because of that, oh, you think at the start of this season? No, I mean,
Or no, like last season. I think he can have a similar like last season.
it's just it's with that injury. It's been one that's harder to come back from for running back specifically. I think back to Tony Pollard having like the worst year ever after his injury that he had that Pacheco had, and I mean, it might take a little bit for Pacheco to get back to where he was, which will be great for us because I bet we can retain him for a lot longer because of that. But unfortunately, bad for him. But I definitely think we're going to get a new face in that room.
Yeah,
But
no, I think if we can get a guy like Devin Neal in the third or the fourth, I think we do it.
let's talk about Trey Smith. I love the idea of tag and trade. I don't.
Unfortunately,
think we
I
have
don't
the
see.
money.
Yeah, I don't see a world where he stays.
We don't have the
Whether
money to
that be
keep
letting
him.
him go or tagging and trading, I think he's gone.
We don't have the money to keep him, and a guard is a lot more replaceable than a tackle. And honestly, the bad tackles we have on our roster, maybe they could slide in at guard. I mean, you already saw Kingsley getting reps at guard. He might develop into a guard. Wanya Morris could develop as a good right guard too, as he's been he took a lot of snaps
And
in
there's
college
a couple
everywhere.
kids that we have like Norzad and Hanson that I think can develop into good guards too. But
Yeah,
I don't see a world where we pay him the tackle money or the guard money that is what the league standard is now, and
20
keep him long
million.
term.
He's going to make more than 20
So
million. No.
I just don't see a world where that happens.
Especially in an off season where we have not that much money. Nick Bolton, initially a guy I didn't want to sign back, but he's really shown up late as of late. Maybe he's getting back from his injury. I've heard rumors that he's getting talked to about his contract extension, and I am inclined to believe them. And I think that if that's the decision that we end up going, I could see it.
Yeah, and it's like when people talk about leaders on defense, right? It's like we
He
talk about
is.
Chris Jones. The guy right in his shadow is Nick Bolton, and he is the guy calling a lot of these plays, putting people in position, making sure everyone's in the right spot. And I think he gets a lot of hate just because his pass coverage isn't as great as his secure tackling and secure run stuffing. But I think if we can get him back, he's a player that we need to have.
If we want to touch back on the Super Bowl very briefly, Nick Bolton, one of those very few players that played 100% of the snaps. We're going to do a full episode, guys, of just going over every single free agent. And I think that might be the next episode, honestly, Garrett. We should just go
Probably.
through every single free agent, even down a Peyton Hendershot. And we're going to say if we want to
Yay
keep
or nay,
them.
baby. We'll bring it back. One of
Yeah.
our first segments we've ever had on the show.
Is
Yay or nay.
It was for wide receivers, and Garrett
Yep.
yayed DeAndre Hopkins. And we
I
got
did
him.
yay DeAndre Hopkins, and we finally got him. And that's why I got the jersey. I know he's probably gone. I saw that comment too. What do we think about Hopkins? He's probably gone, which sucks. Hopkins has been one of my favorite players in the league for a long time, which is why I bought his jersey.
It'll be a good
But
memory though. Even if we didn't win this Super Bowl this year, it was the best 15 win season, and I also bought a D Hop jersey too, and I was like, I'm not gonna be mad because it's a player I love. So, you know, it's
is Kareem Hunt a yay? If he's cheap, yes.
he might come back like Jerick McKinnon did his last year, where Jerick McKinnon was like, he got added late in camp when we didn't draft a running back, and they were like, we could probably do it. Justin Ross, I think it's
We're
over.
off the Justin Ross train. I'm sorry. He
He's
had a
gonna be a
shot. If he was gonna be good, it was a couple years ago. But he ain't it.
he also did a thing, and when you do a thing, it's hard to come back
Come
from
back from
those
that
things.
thing.
Speaking of did a thing, this is on the docket. Kadarius Toney did a thing.
He really did do a thing, and that was like the classic. Big ol' I know Kadarius Toney worshiper is probably in here somewhere.
But he's very sad about it. I saw his posts already, but I honestly feel bad for Kadarius Toney. For context, he got accused of strangling a woman in Georgia, and it is alleged at the time. He has a mugshot, though. I see some people already defending him in the comments. There's a mugshot, but if this is indeed true, honestly, I feel like the internet and the horrible people online and the fans NFL community are part of the problem. If you're driving someone to get to that level of depression and stuff, like that's not without blame.
Yeah, I just feel like sports, social media in general, has just kind of like devolved, right? Especially, oh my God, especially after the Super Bowl, you could just tell like ball watchers and ball knowers and bots. Like there are just so many just I don't even know how to say it other than like just brain dead people commenting like as if they know football. And it is just horrendous. And the way that we treat these players on social media as if like we know that like people are like commenting as if like they know them personally. Like it's like, "Oh, you ruined my parlay. I hope you like just like, drive off a Kansas City bridge or something," right? It's like
Yeah.
these are individuals, right? These are players, and we are treating them like cattle, essentially, right? And
And Mahomes is getting such a bad rep online too. I mean, people making fun of his wife, like alleging that you shouldn't root for the Chiefs now because of what he might believe politically, even though that's based on his wife liking someone's post is all that they have to base that off of. And like, oh, Mahomes is not going to catch Brady now. His legacy is safe because now they're tied in Super Bowls at the age of 30. Like it is constantly, I mean, the burning of Kermit the Frog after the Eagles won, the
I will
hanging
admit, I
of
will.
Kermit
Okay,
the
now, so
Frog.
the hanging of the Kermit frog, that's going a little too far. I did like the burning was kind of funny.
Okay,
The
that's
the
fair.
burning was kind of funny, but yeah, I just feel like some fans go completely overboard, and it's just social media has a big point of that. It's like the whole anonymity of it is kind of like the main problem there, and it's like I would love to see some of the stuff these fans say about these athletes, like to their face. Like I see people saying stuff about Chris Jones that like there is no way you say that to this dude in his face. Like it is just over, man. It's insane.
Hey, I mean, so, I don't even know what some of the things that they're saying on TikTok. I agree with Jesus is him for real. I don't. That's the username of the guy. I don't have TikTok. I don't really watch it. What are they saying on TikTok? Because I've just seen it's gotten so toxic since the ban.
Yeah.
Like it's just gotten even worse, especially for sports.
Well, I
But
mean, Twitter's always been super toxic, especially in the sports world, and I just kind of had to like step away from that whole world after the game, and like someone saying in the comments there, like people are saying that Mahomes will, never end up being the GOAT because of the one game, and my initial reaction to the game was this game obviously is going to hurt his legacy, yada yada yada, whatever. Could he have played better? Yeah, whatever. Um, I like if we're all Chiefs fans here, we all know we are not done. We're gonna be able to get back to this game. We're gonna be able to win more Super Bowls, but just to put this into perspective and kind of like ease the worries, right? Mahomes is now 3-2 in Super Bowls in his first, 8 or 9 seasons. Brady started out 3-2 in the Super Bowls as well. Mahomes is now 29 years old, right? Still super young, has a lot of time. We might not even have seen prime Mahomes yet, right? David, let me ask you, when do you think Brady won his fourth Super Bowl?
Is it 33?
He was 38 years old
Oh wow, holy cow.
when he won his fourth. So
Jeez.
we still have plenty of time. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed. It's going to take a lot of heart and a lot of effort to get back and win these games. But to say it's over right now, we don't need to call it over. Obviously, he's not the GOAT right now. And that's kind of like the big thing is like people, I think the thing that people are saying, like, are they're kind of tired of is like people calling Mahomes the GOAT right now. It's just not the case. Like Brady is, in terms of longevity and championships and awards, Brady is just the GOAT. He'll be the GOAT for a long time. Give it another 10 years and we'll be able to talk about this debate. But
Someone in the comments said they were watching a video of Mahomes' grandparents, like watching him from the hospital, because Mahomes' grandparent was like, in the hospital during the Super Bowl, and he was like stringing to life to watch this game, I remember. And all the comments were just making fun of the grandparent for like that.
yeah, it's just there are certain fan bases out there that have a lot of colorful individuals. Eagles being one of them, and there's going to be a lot of different personalities coming out, especially on social media. And I'm glad that a lot of our players don't listen to the noise, and we're gonna get into this off season. Hopefully, just put our heads down, put our hard hats on, and get back to work. Right. Hopefully with Matt Nagy thrown out the window. But
I'm saying every time someone joins us live, they ask about our opinions on Matt Nagy. It really does show you the state of what.
and
we
today
believe in
we're
our
talking
family.
about it, dude. I know we've already. I am so ready. I'm not going to say what I said about Matt Nagy in a football group chat post game, but it was not positive.
All right. Well, to round out this hour, I'm going to talk about the actual offseason moves that we have done so far. So, right when the season ends, a lot of these teams will sign some players to future reserves deals. Basically, these are 1 year invites to the practice squad to join the 90-man roster in the offseason and compete. So, here are some of the players that will be coming in for 2025. We got wide receiver Justin Ross, obviously a fan favorite. Wide receiver Jason Brownlee, he played for the Jets a little bit. He had some flashes. He's solid. He's very young. Super Bowl champion Deion Bush at safety. Baylor Cup, tight end out of Baylor, or not tight end out of Baylor, tight end out of Texas Tech. Defensive tackle Saiki Ika, we got him from the Browns earlier. He sat on the practice squad. Our boy Chu
Fan of the
Godric,
show, Chukwuebuka Godric, the GOAT.
he
Love him.
was one of our first interviews. He's one of our first episodes, so we love him. He's the international guy from Nigeria from our international pathway program. So glad to see him back. Who knows? Maybe he gets to play tackle, or Ethan Driscoll. We have some guys who could develop. You never know.
We have some guys in the woodworks. We'll see.
Florida State standout Fabian Lovett, defensive tackle, another guy we got. Chris Oludokin is coming back, everybody's favorite third string quarterback that wears Kadarius Toney's number. Darius Rush, corner that we got from the Colts, South Carolina. Eric Scott, that one guy that we picked up from the Cowboys at the beginning of the season, he's coming back. And then my favorite, Tyquan Thornton, bro, the speedster out of Baylor. Played at the Patriots, was like a first round pick, didn't really do much there. But who knows? He's on the team still. So, hey. This is a good question.
That situation. Yeah, it's just. I mean, like
This is also why we are hated as a fan base, Garrett, is because of the new bandwagons that are, obviously just fans of good teams, but then also the Swifties. I thought were going to be a welcome addition, to be completely honest, but I didn't realize how mob mentality they really were.
I mean, I kind of expected them to be super mob mentality, but what they did was like very disgraceful.
They are currently going to Chauncey Gardner Johnson's mother's restaurant and review bombing it. That is her livelihood. That is, how she makes her money and living, and that's her
And
career.
look,
And
I get CJ Gardner Johnson, did his little post about Kelsey's girlfriend or whatever, and
his ex-girlfriend, Chauncey Gardner Johnson,
ex-girlfriend.
he said you should have stuck with your ex, the thick ex. He said,
that kind of stuff. It's like that players they just put their heads down and they don't worry about it, and it's being blown completely out of proportion, and It just kind
We're
of
getting
goes to like,
such a bad rap.
and it's a shame.
Us as fans.
Because
Because
like what Chiefs fans are known for doing, right, is like, especially after the multiple times we've beaten the Bills in the playoffs, like we go find a player's like charity organization, we go donate a bunch of money, right? Like that's the Chiefs kingdom we love to talk about, right? And a lot of these like new bandwagon people that come in and watch these games and now are acting very hateful. That's just not what we do around here, man.
yeah, and I mean now you have ML. I hate ML football, dude. It's one of
ML
those
football is
aggregator
such
accounts.
a moron. I hate
But
ML football.
well, he's just trying to get engagement, and right now engagement is hating on the Chiefs. So he's making up storylines about the Chiefs. They just posted today, oh, Chiefs fans want Jalen Carter suspended from the league because of his hit on Mahomes.
Like literally, no one has said that. No one has said that.
Maybe one person said it.
One guy in a comment, maybe.
And he took that tweet and ran with it. Like, it's ridiculous to spread that narrative, and all the comments are sheep and are like, oh my God, of course Chiefs fans are like that. They're one of the worst fan bases that ever exists. And I'm like, oh my God, how far we have fallen. We are a small Midwestern town, small market team built on the backs of we haven't had a football team in Kansas that was good. I mean, with the KU Jayhawks, I'm sorry, they were not historically good. K-State was not historically good. So
and like even early 2000s Chiefs, like they weren't like great. Like they had a couple good seasons, right? But like they weren't great.
The entire fan base of Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas area they have engulfed and bled red for the longest time. They're most diehard, passionate tailgaters. They're always welcoming. If you actually go to a Chiefs game instead of interact with fans online,
you will never have a problem with a Chiefs fan. You'll never have a problem with them.
Yeah, we have some funny super fans.
Honestly,
you
will if you walk like what a lot of like NFL fans don't understand about Chiefs fans is that the ones that you find online are not like representative of Chiefs fans, right? If you go to a game and you're walking throughout the tailgate, right, you could be wearing a Raiders jersey. Like they are our most hated rivals ever. You'll still probably get some food from a cookout, man. Like we are just the most accepting, loving fan base ever, especially to other teams. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, because like a lot of the Chiefs fans that get the highlights are like the super insane, just dumb ones, right?
Yeah.
Like real Chiefs fans are the ones like hogging bringing a trailer with a smoker at 6 a.m. for a 5 o'clock Chiefs game, right?
Yeah,
and I mean that's the kind of Chiefs fans that we strive to be, right?
And even Chiefsaholic, who is a criminal, literally, would probably never do something as petty as review bombing someone's site. So, no. Yeah, I know. Scrap is talking about how Philly has burned their city again. I mean, that was
to be expected. I mean, win or lose, that city was going up in flames. But at this point, that's kind of like their thing.
I'm more upset about how they treated Commanders fans after the game. Like they were
that was kind of
actually
rough.
Trying to like beat them up, and I was like, that's just horrible. Like they were saying slurs to these Commanders fans, like,
but like
that.
To like what we were saying, right? Like we've seen videos of that online. Those are, one of the few, right? Like obviously not every Eagles fan is like that, yada yada yada.
I don't even see videos of us doing that ever though. Like I've never seen a video of us like berating a fan.
It is what it is. I mean, hey, they're gonna tote their flowers, they're gonna, talk their stuff for the next, 364 days or whatever it is, right? But we're gonna try our best to get back there, hopefully fix this roster up and get up there. And I can't believe we forgot to talk about this, and I just saw this comment in the comments.
Instagram.
David. Do you think Travis Kelce should retire?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was just about to segue into that before we ended our hour. Yes, and that's only because there was a time period where I said I want Travis Kelce to play until the brakes fall off, and he will always be welcome. He'll always be a nice, back. I would be so happy of him being like a backup tight end and playing just to be on the team. But this is our reality, and that is how much Kelce is making next year. And he just isn't the same player. He was not the difference maker in this Super Bowl he needed to be. He got shut down. He had drops. He's had crucial drops this entire season. And, it might be time for his next chapter in life. I mean, he's got a lot of brand deals, movies, TV shows. he wants to be an actor. He's trying to do all those things. I mean, I would probably venture to guess that he retires.
I feel like my perspective on it, right, is that I don't think he wants to retire. I just think there's a lot of outside sources that go into things like this. You know, he has his podcast with his brother who had just recently retired, and he's able to talk to him every single day about retired life and, you know, going home to. Obviously, he doesn't have any kids or a family to go home to yet, but just having like this, you know, outside freedom, right? And I saw someone in the comments just say, you know, not until we have a tight end that he can groom. We already do. I believe once Kelsey retires, Noah Gray takes up that one spot in stride. He's made some phenomenal catches, and once we put him into the limelight, I think he can be a phenomenal tight end for us. If he does not restructure his contract, if we do not get a significant amount of that away from Kelsey, I just don't think him coming back would be the most beneficial. But I mean,
They said something about like we could do a dummy year if Kelsey wants to play one more year. If you extend him an extra year, put all the money in that final year, and then he retires that final year. So then,
and that, you know, we talk about stuff like this, right? And like obviously, yeah, he didn't have a great year, but that doesn't take away from everything that he's done for the city of Kansas City and for this team. Whenever there's going to be, you know, a statue made, it's going to be Reed, Mahomes, and Kelsey, right? So
and Chris Jones.
Throw Chris Jones in there. But like obviously, us talking about him, we wanting him to retire, isn't us, you know, degrading his, you know, former performance. It's the reality of the now, right?
We
could admire and be nostalgic about the past, but we need the now, right? So
yeah, I mean it's sad, but I mean we did draft a tight end in Jared Wiley in the 4th round, who we took really high when we also needed a corner, but we didn't take one until later. We prioritized a tight end that we liked, who has a very similar build and prototype to Kelsey. Wiley got injured. We never really got to see what he was about. And then you get Noah Gray, who you literally just gave a 3-year extension to. That 3-year extension said a lot to me, especially with the money we paid Gray. It was a good amount of money. It was.
Will
like,
Travis Kelsey be a Hall of Famer? First ballot. I mean, that's like not even a question. You know, 3-time Super Bowl winner, lead is either first or third, or first or second every single playoff receiving stat you can think of. He's top 3 in almost every single tight end stat. I mean, it's first ballot. It's not even a question.
Now, speaking of retire, Garrett, I think we must retire for the night, as it is.
I agree. It's getting about that time, but we really appreciate you guys sending your comments and talking to us. I know it's rough. I know, you know, we got a lot. There's people out there, you know, you're a Chiefs fan in Philly or you're a Chiefs fan anywhere else. It's gonna hurt. We're gonna get back and we're gonna play our best football next year, I'm sure.
But yeah, next week we're gonna get a whole list together of every single free agent, and we're gonna go through and we're gonna say who we want, who we shouldn't want, who we should tag and trade. I guess I hope we can do that, but those are so hard to do, especially because you have to find a partner. But hey, guys, if you like the show, be sure to go to Spotify, listen to it, give it a 5-star rating on Spotify. We like that. The YouTube channel, I might do some fun stuff with it in the off season. We'll see. So come subscribe over here. I mean, you get the podcast, you get the shorts that you get on Instagram. I mean, might as well, right? And then, yeah, I mean, check us out on Instagram. I mean, most of you are watching on Instagram anyway, but a lot of you guys have migrated to the YouTube because you actually have noticed that I can throw up your comments on the screen when you say them versus on Instagram. I just have to read them. So I have to pronounce some of y'all's crazy names. Like someone in the Instagram's comments name is like KIXKSHIBAKKWITT Sean. I'll just call you Sean. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching as always. I can't wait for Worthy and Rice as well next year.
And I'm honestly just ready. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready for Worthy and Rice to have a good duo, and I'm ready for this offseason, man. It'll be exciting.
Yeah. And draft season's coming up. I can't wait to talk about all the prospects that we're going to be looking at. My Texas Longhorns have a lot of talent coming into this draft, so who knows? We might.
And who knows? Maybe we trade up and we get one of the Texas tackles, preferably the better one.
Yeah, I don't want Cameron Williams. Actually, he's not good. So Kelvin Banks Jr. though. So yeah, guys, as always,
Talkin Chop, baby.
See you guys, and there's always next year.